Okay, so what I'm going to do today is a scrap tamari, and it's just like a really easy method that a friend of mine in Scotland called Robin Sheriff figured out, and he uses this for actual tamari and miso, but I have improvised his method to make a scrap tamari. So for those of you who don't know, tamari is a byproduct of making miso in Japan, and a lot of people who have gluten allergies or intolerances and who can't consume soy sauce look for tamari. So it's technical or technically tamari, but it could be called garam. You could even call it a sort of a soy sauce. So this is what it looks like. This has not been aged. It's like a young one. And you can taste this afterwards. But I want to show you what my system at home is like. Sorry for this ugly stuff. I wasn't able to scrape it off. But this is essentially 2 food grade buckets that are just sitting on top of each other. And this has holes at the bottom of it, if you can see, through which the tamari is dripping down. And what collects in this is the liquid. And I'll just do a quick demo of how it works and what goes into it. So the main thing that makes this a tamari is this thing called koji. I'm going to pass this around. I would, like you can smell it. It would be awesome if you couldn't touch it because it's going into this and we don't want it getting contaminated. So this, wow.
Can you start here then?
Oh yeah, sure. Wow. Sorry, so clumsy.
Say again, what is this?
It's koji. So koji is essentially mycelium that is grown on rice as a substrate. If you're making soy sauce, it's grown on soy sauce and wheat, etc., etc. So you can grow this on like a whole bunch of substrates, but this, sorry? Yes, you can too. Yeah, it's like a magical ingredient. This one is, I think, on basmati rice or maybe dosa rice. I can't remember which one I pulled out of the freezer. But yeah, essentially that's the thing that has all the enzymes to be able to convert other things into magic. So this is what it looks like in here. So it's as if we were making a miso out of the scrap. And I'll pass this around and you can sniff this. Huh? It looks like a miso, but it's made with veggies.
What's in there?
Scrap from my kitchen.
Like what?
Like onion peels, it's got carrot peels, it's got like a whole bunch of stuff, like bits of like cucumber ends and like the tomato white bit stem thingy. It's got like a whole bunch of leftover rice.
Banana peel?
No, it's all edible stuff because you want that to. Banana peel is edible, but it's better fermented in other ways. So it hasn't got any fruit, but it's got a bunch of veggies. It's got leftovers. It's got like some rinds of pizza, some bread that went too hard, things like that. Yeah.
How long does it take to make the scrap?
It depends. Sorry, I'm going to spill something today. I'm so sorry. Huh? What? Say again?
The duration, like when is it ready?
So there's no, it's like a spectrum, right? Like with kombucha. So it can start from like something being very sweet to going very sour. So something like that, this would be, it's young, but then it can be aged. And each one will taste different depending on what's been put inside.
If I'm super new to this concept, when should I be ready to use it?
This is ready to use, like whenever it drips.
Like what's the
This is a continuous one, so I have no idea how long. Like even this has been, everything that's been collecting in here has been there maybe for like a couple of weeks. And when it gets full, I just pour it out. So because it's for home use, it's not like I'm not super picky about like exact timings and stuff. It's more for convenience, but this could be the application that you do in a restaurant, for example, or even at home. Something like this is a good size. You can also scale it up. You can scale it as big as you want, but the demo I'm going to do today is scaled down so that we can see. And this is again yogurt cups. I've just poked some holes in the bottom. And this is what Robin's method is for the regular tamari. And yeah, so I had some of this left over, so I'm going to mix that in with some new scraps. So this has like mushroom stems. It's already been mixed in with some koji. It's got like some leftover frozen vegetables that just went in, like whatever's there really.
So all scraps.
All scrap that is edible, yeah. So like garlic peels, anything that's rotten, that doesn't go in because this is still edible at the end of the, so if it's rotten, it goes out, but anything else can go in. So what I have today is like, I made dinner yesterday. I can't remember what I made, but this is, I made a salad along with some falafel. So this just has like some onion peels. This is the top of like a sauerkraut jar, so it's like pickled cabbage leaves. The outer leaves, so they're not great to be eaten, but they still have nutrition. They have all the good microbes, and this is just like some wilty coriander, some onion peels, some cucumber, some tomato, and sauerkraut. I don't know, I'm thinking of the word. What is this called? Like it's basically like a shower cap that you make out of outer leaf.
Yes.
And then use it as a weight to keep everything down. And so into this koji, I'm just going to break this apart. This was frozen and it's like defrosted. And if it's dehydrated, which is normally how you buy it, and if you do, then I will let you know where to get it from. Like you can buy it from, there's a couple of suppliers.
So that you can't make at home.
Yeah, you can, but this is, it's very tricky to make this. So it needs to be at the right temperature, the right humidity, and it's like quite technical. You have to source the spores from Japan and do it. So, but there are people here who do it. So there's Brown Koji Boy in Bombay, and there is Zo Probiotics, so you can get it from them. And then, so I've just like mushed it up, and I'm gonna add this stuff. And literally just chop it. This is like with peels and everything. Unless it has like that black stuff that you get sometimes in between, you don't have to worry about it. And if you're doing it in big enough quantities, then you can always do it. You could just leave these whole, like if you're doing them in massive.
Do you wash all the peels and then?
I wash all the veg before I chop them up. So these have been washed, but even if you don't, like the dust would get filtered out when you strained it.
Can you grind them?
Yeah, it's easier and takes less space. If you're doing it at home, you just grind it up, put it through a meat grinder, or like a. But I try and do as little work as possible, so it'll break down anyway. It'll just take a little bit longer. So all these. And this will need to be cut. So how small you cut it really depends on how quick you want it to break down. So the bigger, if you're not pushed on like time, then you just leave it and it'll do its own thing.
Do you use meat or fish in there?
You can use bones like chicken bones and other bones that you want to break down. Avoid using things that are too fatty. So you can use leftovers. I've put in things like leftover sambar and all kinds of things, and like all of that ferments and comes out as a umami sauce. Cooked food also works. And so this is, and it's just about the ratio between the waste and the koji. And also I eyeball salt. There are ratios to do all this, but it just needs to not be less salty.
Table salt.
Table salt is okay. Pink salt or Himalayan salt is always better, or sea salt. But table salt works too. That's what we're using today. And you just mush it up.
We can find the portions in Playbook.
No, Playbook for Noobs does not work with koji. Koji is complex. So, no. Huh? No. It's, yeah, Noobs can start with other stuff like honey ferments and things.
And you need to add koji every single time you add.
Every single time you add the veg, you need to add some sort of koji, is because the koji is what has the enzymes that will break it down.
The koji itself will not take over the. It will not multiply by itself.
No. All because the multiplying of the microbes is already done. We've stopped it and we've hibernated it in the freezer. And now what happens is all the enzyme and enzymatic breakdown of whatever you're mixing the koji with.
And from one batch of koji, can you make more koji?
No, you need because it's more to do with mycelium, and that's pretty tricky, and there's a lot of health and safety stuff. So it's better. You can incubate koji once you get used to working with koji. The incubation is very doable, and lots of different methods are very riggable. So you don't need specific equipment, but it is better to do it, better to get the spores from Japan to be able to do it. But a little goes a long way, so you can, it's not worth the risk to make it yourself, so just to mix it up like that, and some of this stuff which has been sitting around, which didn't fit into this, which I kept, I'm going to just mix that in with this too. And because this is already partially fermented, and what this looked like when I first made it was like this. So it was chunky, it was white and all the veggies, and then over a period of time it's blended, it's fermented into something like this over maybe 2 weeks. And because I don't have another one of these to put them in, I'm just going to mix it with this, and that'll also accelerate the fermentation of this. And it's also changed its texture. Like this is still like holding itself together. This is like it's almost like a miso texture.
And once it's completely broken down, what can you then use the solids for?
The solids, they can, like this, it can just keep getting mixed into the previous batch. So it just keeps getting more and more intense.
But let's say you reach a level where you use a body space, can that then be used as?
Yeah, but the whole thing is very stackable. That's why it makes sense. Like if you've run out of space, and that's why it's friendly for a kitchen or for a restaurant, because this, you can continue adding as much. So if you have vertical space and all you need is like a foot, even if you're scaling up into something bigger, it's still like a 1 foot square space, and then you can expand vertically. So instead of these 3, like this has 2, we're gonna do 3 today, and then you can continue to add more as you run out of space.
Let me refill it.
Yeah.
The stuff that this is, once fermentation has happened, and you've taken your tamari out, it can solid, is that as well, is that edible as well? Would that become paste that can be used? Or can be used?
Say that again?
The solids that are there.
Basically the waste of the waste.
Waste of this.
Then this keeps getting mixed in. You can mix it into the new batch that you
But
make.
other than that, is there anything else that I can use it for other than using it?
You could blend it up and use it kind of as like a miso if you're happy with how it tastes. Yeah, you could. And it's just like specifically. So the solids take more space. With the liquids, with this system, what happens is it collects a lot of the liquid, and that is like the bulk, and so the volume keeps decreasing.
And the thing is, so solidify inoculate compost with that. Will it help?
It'll help your soil. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You absolutely should be working with koji if you run a restaurant, if you run a farm, if you're, I know. If you cook, you should be using koji. It's like the next magic technology after fire and salt. This is the biggest difference it makes to food. Okay, so that's like roughly mixed in, and I'm just gonna, that bit had salt already, and so I'm just popping this in. These were washed today before I brought them. And you give it some space. Don't pack it all the way till the top because it'll rise as it carbonates. And one will act as a weight for the other one. And it'll push it down. And then this, by the end of this evening, we'll have at least some liquid gathered in this one. And then as it gathers, you can pour it out, strain it out into a bottle, and you can either use it or you can age it and then use it. You can.
And by aging, you just leave alone or something?
You leave it alone. You can. You can also like make sure that it's a little bit more. It's aging like as it is, or you can even pasteurize it and then age it. And that just means that the intensity will increase. You can also cook it down a little bit, and that'll make it stronger, like a reduction of this, like a soy sauce reduction or something that you would make. So yeah, that's basically a scrap tamari reverse something. Yeah. Yeah, just make sure you cover this. I don't have a lid for it, but like something like this will work. Yeah, and yeah, you take it home. Yeah, take it home. Yeah.
What can go wrong with it? I mean, if I see any fungal formation stuff on there, is it fine?
Ideally, if the salt and koji ratio is right, you shouldn't see any fungal formation. If you do see some, just skim it off, compost it, and then everything underneath should still be fine. Because the fungal formation that you're seeing is, it's very likely the koji itself just growing as it finds more food, but the salt should inhibit that. So always err more on the side of caution and use more salt than less.
So you leave this outside or in the fridge?
Outside, because it ferments at room temperature, especially Ooty, you're great, it's fine. Don't attempt it in Bombay. It needs like slightly cooler. It's not like 30 degrees, but like 24, 25 degrees is perfect at room temperature to do its thing. Yeah. Any questions? You can smell it. You can taste it. Yeah.
Should we taste?
Yeah, you can taste. Put it on your. Can I wash my hands? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like this.
Be a bit more watery, but it's
Yeah, but
actually
a bit
just
more
totally
like a
coconut.
funky.
Yeah, funky soy. But the smell, and for me, there's one thing, the smell and
Yeah,
taste
it's
don't
very
taste
different,
very different.
right?
You don't know what I expect to taste
Yeah.
when I smell.
Yeah.
So what does the smell like and what does the taste like?
It smells off. It smells fruity. It smells a good fruity off. but it tastes
Like a rotten fruit.
rotten fruit is yeah. I don't
Like a rotten fruit, but it tastes like?
A lot of esters.
Smells sweet to me.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's what that.
Yeah, the
fruity
sweetness
ester
is from the
smell.
koji.
The ester smell.
I don't know what your face looks very interesting. What do you think? Huh?
Extremely buttery. I'm getting
Buttery.
buttery as well as salty.
Wow. Elizabeth, what do you think? Describe. Throw out a.
It's not like.
Well,
I get the whole kind of tastes like soy, but like far more. Soy, not soy. Yeah.
soy and not soy.
Yeah.